Perhaps one of the most exciting new features in ACT version 16 is the new History module. Finally, ACT has a capability to provide detailed reporting analysis on histories and completed activities. This has been quite difficult in the past, so in order to report on user activities, it's been necessary to use a combination of lookups and reports. Just a little bit clunky and not very easy to use. But now with this history view, we can get direct access, direct visibility to all completed histories within the database in a simple list view that can be filtered to show exactly what the user or the manager needs to see. So users of ACT will be familiar with the list view, and this history list works in pretty much the same way as other list views in that I can right click and customize the columns to determine what fields of the history I want to see, and there are also a series of filters in the top of the screen that allow me to control what histories are going to be in view. Of course, I've got a date selector with all the pre-packaged date examples, current week, current month, last week, last month, etc. Or at the bottom, custom, I can specify a particular date range if I wish. Next to that, we've got history types. This will be familiar to ACT users as it's present in the history tab in all entities of the system, so I can determine exactly what types of history are going to be displayed in this view. So this will include all the activity histories, calls, meetings, to-dos, attached files, emails, documents, etc. Also opportunity histories. System changes are in there as well. System changes include field changes or where contacts are deleted or linked to companies. But often the history view is something that's going to be used by managers to measure user activity. So let's say, for an example, I want to see details of completed calls and meetings held by my sales team within a given period of time. I can just select those types from the drop down, and there I see all my meetings held and calls completed. Of course, because it's a list view, I can click on any column header to sort by any column that's displayed in the view. I can go on to select users, so if I want to see just meetings held and calls completed by Alison or Chris, I can select those two users and the view is narrowed down accordingly. There's a summary number at the bottom here that says I've got 224 completed histories of call completed, meeting held for those two people. There is a keyword search as well, so if I want to apply a further level of search, I can key in a word or a phrase and the system will search for that within the activities. I'm keying in lunch and you can see it's narrowing it down to just the 10 completed calls or meetings held where the phrase lunch appears in the history regarding field. So useful, I think. What I can do is also export that information into Excel because it's a list view if I want to carry out further analysis. So let's say, for example, I want to create a graph, maybe a bar chart that expresses the calls completed and meetings held by these users within this time frame. There is, of course, some graphical output already in the dashboard area of the system, but those views are pre-constructed and there isn't a great deal of flexibility. Whereas if I get the data out into Excel, I can of course use my own pivot table structures to create whichever graphs I want. So as a simple example, if I want to show a bar chart of the completed histories, in this case broken down by record manager and by type of history, I can just simply add those to my pivot table. Insert a, let's say, a three-dimensional bar chart. And if I want to break it down by a type of activity, just click on result. So quite simple and straightforward presentation of graphical information from ACT, just a few key clicks away, so much more reporting power. As mentioned, I'm not only limited to activity histories, I can use this to look at opportunities as well. So perhaps for those two particular users, I want to see how many new opportunities they've created within a date range, or how many opportunities have been won within a prescribed date range. And again, of course, I can export that to Excel for further analysis if I wish to do so. Or I can create reports based upon the history, or I can conduct global changes to the system based upon the people in these histories as well. For example, if I want to record a history against all the people for whom we've opened a new opportunity within a prescribed date range. I could set the filters to include those people, and then right-click anywhere on the screen, create a lookup, and it would give me a lookup, a list of all the contacts to whom those histories referred. And of course, in that contact list view, I can then go to record a note or a further history or schedule an activity or mail merge to those people that were affected by that history. It's also a very powerful system management feature, I think. Histories grow pretty quickly in ACT and become quite a large part of the system. It can become a little bit unwieldy with hundreds of thousands of histories being created manually by users, but automatically created by the system as well whenever a contact is deleted or contacts are linked to companies or access levels are changed. So the system will automatically create those histories, and it can over time become a little bit unwieldy. It can impact upon performance. So an administrator may wish to remove histories from the database. Well, the only way to do that before now was under the Tools menu, Database Maintenance. You could remove old histories, so histories older than a specific date or number of days, but you couldn't be specific about what types of histories to remove. Now, using this module, you can. So if I wanted to remove from the system any system-generated histories where contacts have been deleted from the system, I could do that by selecting from the filters contact changes, contacts deleted, and listing all those history records, and then just simply highlighting them and deleting them. Of course, I could have set a date range, or I could have had this apply to specific users. So as an administrator, I have full control over what's removed. I'd probably do a backup before removing history anyway, just in case anybody needs to refer to those removed history elements, but full management control over history data. So that's the new history module in ACT 16.